Is one of your productivity tips eat food and drink water? Did anyone not do this before they discovered TikTok?
Here's how to get way more done in less time.
Here's how I trick my brain into feeling more motivated.
Take a clean sheet of paper and write down goals.
I'm going to show you guys the best productivity hack you need to know in less than 20 seconds.
Today we're looking at some productivity related TikToks to see what advice we can get. Let's just dive right in and see what TikTokers can tell us about becoming more productive.
I'm going to show you guys how I stay focused using the 3-2-1 productivity rule. I start by writing down 3 things that I absolutely have to get done today. Then I'll write down 2 things that I'll do if I have a bit more time. And finally, I'll write down 1 way I plan on unwinding, which gives me something to look forward to. This method is simple, easy, and totally effective.
The first 2 bits I think are great. Setting 3 main things to do for the day tends to work well. Like 3 is not too many, not too few. Sometimes it's more important to just have 1 thing. To not force yourself to feel like I have to do 3 things. Sometimes it's just, this is the 1 thing I need to get done today. That's it, right? The last bit of what am I going to do afterwards to have something to look forward to. Like, I understand the idea here of trying to give yourself some motivation to get through the thing. The problem with this is that it's an extrinsic factor, right? Where you say, once I get the work done, then I have some reward that has nothing to do with the work. This is not ideal for motivation. What's much better for motivation is if you can be intrinsically motivated, or if there's something intrinsic to the work, if you can find something about the work itself that excites you, that you want to do, that is an actual driver, whereas the other thing is more like a carrot on a stick, right? And it just tends to not work that well. This is a great example of maybe there's more behind this model, and it would be great to have a long conversation about what is going on here. My first impression is that this is actually not that useful because of the intrinsic extrinsic thing I just explained, and also because like writing down 3 things but then 2 more things, I don't know if that's useful. How to get motivated. Okay. Consume inspiring content. See, that's interesting, right? Can you actually consume motivation in that sense? Can you become motivated to do things through consumption? So to me, TikTok is very frustrating what I'm seeing here, because this is an interesting idea with a lot of nuance. My first impression is probably not. Probably this doesn't work. But it would be very interesting to have maybe a long conversation with an expert on this topic to find out. What are the edge cases here? In which cases does this actually work? How does one do this? If we want to motivate ourselves by consuming inspiring content, how do we actually do it? What I can tell you for sure is that for the majority of people, consuming inspiring content does not motivate them to take action. For many people, it leads to negative downward spiral where you start comparing yourself, right? You read stories of people overcoming adversity and achieving great success and so on. For many people, this creates a negative feeling of like, oh my God, this other person is so successful and I'm not. And a lot of like inspiring content, a lot of motivational content can lead to toxic positivity. For most people, this is not an easy recipe to get any positive outcome at all. So to just have it as one list item here, and then I bet we move on straight to the next thing is frustrating. Okay, books, podcasts, videos. It's basically true, yes, of course, if you have a clean, uncluttered environment, it makes it easier to, get focused, be distraction free and so on. But the tidying up itself, the cleaning up itself is one of the most typical things people do to procrastinate, to avoid doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's almost like, okay, you're trying to get motivated to get shit done, and then you don't get shit done. Instead, you're reading a bunch of books, you're watching a bunch of inspiring videos, you're cleaning. So when are we doing the thing? Yes, break tasks down and start small. Yes, the most important word here is start. Okay. Start. I feel like this so far is advice for how to spend all day not starting. It's all about building momentum. I'm a big believer in momentum. Again, this is just a perfect example of like, now tell me how to do this. Just building momentum. Yeah, but how? It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do. There must be a graveyard of nuance somewhere in the proximity of TikTok.
This is Harvard University's most effective productivity hack. In 2018, Harvard conducted a study of the 100 most effective productivity hacks, and timeboxing ranked as number 1. Timeboxing is a very straightforward process, and it involves 3 simple steps. The first step is called brain dumping, and it's a technique used by experts to formulate your thoughts onto paper. We then identify the top 3 tasks for the day. This is to ensure you don't overlook your most vital objectives. And finally, we timebox, which is where we assign a time to each task. This is to get a visual representation of how much time we have to complete each objective. If you'd like to begin timeboxing, you can buy the Timebox notepad on Amazon. The link is in our bio.
Yes, this is great. This notepad itself, my first thought when I saw the notepad is like, there's not enough space on here. It's like the brain dump, you probably need more space. You know, in this context, it's like, okay, for your work day, what are all the things you want to get done? And then the top 3 priorities. You probably don't want to be doing this every day, because it shouldn't be a new search for the top 3 things every day, right? You should have a system that makes this clear already, but it's still useful to have a brain dump, where it's like, get all the other stuff out of your head. And then the time boxing to say, okay, here's exactly how much time I give myself for each task can be very useful. You also have to have a system for like what to do when something takes more time. Because otherwise the whole thing can easily fall apart, where, you know, you planned 1 hour for this thing, but it took 1.5 hours, and now everything else like moves down by half an hour or something. Or what do you do, right? I don't think a notepad is the best way to do it. Sorry to this person, like, they're clearly trying to sell this notepad, but I doubt that that's the best way to do it. Interesting to see the others here, right? Time boxing, priorities, saying no, big fan of that. Move, that's also interesting. Control your devices, super interesting, right? People become more productive in the absence of their phone, for example. Interesting list here. And yeah, I do like that this is at least making an attempt to be research based.
If you're having trouble being productive but you don't know what your energy curve looks like, pause, because I'm gonna explain it to you. Productivity is not all about having planners. This one is really good though. It's not just about time management, but energy management. So a YouTube video, and I'll explain it to you because it changed the game.
This is what mine looks like. As you can see, I've been using it for months. On this axis is the time of the day, and this is how much energy I have.
It's the idea of energy management rather than time management, which I think is an interesting idea. But how does one extract useful information from this? I'm not sure. I have no idea how someone's supposed to process this. I'm trying to say, well, you know, your energy curve for every day isn't going to look exactly the same. There's going to be some patterns, right? You have a circadian rhythm. You know, most people have some energy spike in the morning, then a slump during the midday. As she mentions, it also depends on, you know, what food you eat, when you went to bed, how much sleep you got, what you do, etc., right? What we're getting is a hint of something that's important and interesting, and then we move on to the next thing.
People can't get up in the morning and they can't get out of bed. I'm going to tell you why. Because they can predict the feeling of everything that's going to happen in their life, and their body's resigned to the familiar. It says, oh, another mundane day. But remember when you were a kid and you were going on a field trip? What happened then? You were up and dressed and ready to go before your parents were up. People can't get up in the morning and they can't...
Is there a part 2? What do we do with this? Sure, you were excited to go on a field trip when you were a kid. I mean, you're probably still excited to go on a trip now as an adult, no? You can't get yourself out of bed to go on vacation? I don't understand. What are you trying to say? You want to design your day ideally in such a way that there are things to look forward to, right? And that will help with your motivation. And sure, if you find yourself not wanting to get out of bed in the morning, there's a high chance that you just don't have anything to look forward to in your day, and your life isn't designed in such a way that it is something you want to take part in, right? Which unfortunately is a problem many people have. Now, you can try to design your life, and I would encourage anyone to do that, you know, even if you're stuck in circumstances that don't feel great, even if you're stuck in a job you don't love and things like that, you can still try to design your day to have some elements that you like, that you look forward to. But the other thing is also, and this is especially true for creators and entrepreneurs who are doing something more self-determined, you also have to embrace the mundane. Even if you're working on your dream business, for example, and it's like you're your own boss and all that, right? you will still have to do lots of stuff that are not fun and exciting and super motivating. Like when you zoom in, right? Success happens when you zoom in. It's fairly mundane. Any successful person does relatively unexciting, unspectacular things day in, day out, right? You have a system that you execute. My favorite analogy for this is if you want to get in shape, right, you have to exercise every day. You have to keep doing the exercise that works. You have to keep going. You have to keep eating well. It's mundane. It's not like, oh yeah, today a completely different workout at the gym, a completely new adventure awaits. No. It's just the same thing and you have to keep with it. That's basically what success looks like. So thinking that that something being mundane is the problem that needs to be solved, I think is misguided.
1. Someone has been watching my videos too much. I'm sure she's addicted to the extension.
What? Someone's using like a screenshot extension or something?
This girl is living in 3021. Someone has been watching my video.
Oh, so it's an OCR tool, I think. Optical character recognition. She takes like a screenshot, it gets turned into text. She's addicted to the extension that does this. Oh my God.
What's the difference between being busy and being productive? I could talk about that for hours, but my social media manager says you won't listen for more than 30 seconds, so I'll try to keep it simple. A busy person will tell you they're busy. A busy person will be the first one in the office and the last one out of the office, trying to prove something instead of just letting their work speak for itself.
A busy person will always be working on something but can never tell you what they're working on or what their updates are.
Stay productive and
Okay, that was interesting. Aren't we here to learn about the productive person? I mean, I kind of don't blame her, right? She even says like, oh, I would love to talk about this, but unfortunately I'm on TikTok, so I don't know. Oh no, not the Pomodoro technique again. So I'm not, yeah.
I love that the Focus Keeper forces me to take a breather every 25 minutes.
Which goes for the device, right? 25 minutes of work and then swipey swipe on the device. It's probably the worst thing you can do for your focus and for your productivity, like, you know, rapid consumption mode in your breaks. So I would classify this as very bad advice.
Here's 5 habits that have made my life better, more streamlined, and a lot tidier. Number 1, having a transition bin for the clothes that aren't clean enough for the closet but not dirty enough for the laundry. 3, using Notion as my second brain because our mind is for having ideas, not holding them.
But how though? How? Using Notion as my second brain? I mean, okay.
Number 4, scheduling a life admin day once a month to tackle personal appointments, errands, and mundane tasks.
I think that's a good idea, right? To have a day, which she says once a month, where you put all the stuff that tends to get like pushed back or tends to find no space, or just little admin stuff, to have that pre-scheduled where you know, okay, there's one day where I'm going to take care of that. That's really good idea. Gratitude. How? Spend time outside. Okay. 5 things to change your life. It's just a random assortment of good habits. I don't know. I would love to hear from a person whose life has been changed by TikTok, right? Where it's like, has this ever happened? Like literally ever to anyone? Has anyone watched a TikTok like this and been like, this is it. From this day on, I'm going to spend time outside every day and I'm going to have a productive morning and get all this work done. You know, does anyone have a transformation story, a personal transformation story that starts with, I saw this TikTok, and then I would genuinely love to know about this. So if that's you, or if you know someone, like leave a comment. I want to get you on the podcast, right? If your life has been changed by one of these TikToks, I want to talk to you. Wake up early. Wait, is that too controversial? Is it too controversial? It's like nobody expected that. A productivity TikToker says, wake up early, make your bed. The first thing, never heard of that.
Number 5, and possibly most important, is do something that makes you happy before you log on to work for the day. This can just be getting a coffee.
That's an interesting one, right? Is it better to like dive right in, to start with your work, or do something like exercise, or should you do something that you love, like getting a coffee or something? I think that's worth experimenting with, because what can happen if you do something you love, and you know, something you love obviously is it's very vague. It could be many things. It could be that it gives you a positive start into the day, but it could also be that it like saps your momentum, right? Something to experiment with, I would say.
Number 6 is to stay hydrated and fuel your body. Number 7
is one of your productivity tips eat food and drink water? Did anyone not do this before they discovered TikTok? I don't know. Seems pretty generic, pretty unsurprising. Sleep 7 hours. Work out 3 times a week. Daily morning pages, no explanation what that is. Veggies with every meal. 2 liters of water a day. That seems to be popular, right? It's just the 5 most generic pieces of advice possible. All right, so that's some productivity TikTok. I guess I'm not sure what I expected. I was hoping for more, right? I was hoping to find some gems here. But I guess just nobody has enough time on TikTok to actually say anything of substance. And it's also unsurprising. It's so unsurprising what people are saying here. If you are looking for productivity advice on TikTok, here's the best advice I can give you. Don't. It's clearly not the place to learn this. What's interesting is that obviously there are good ideas here. There are indeed things that would make a difference. But the big thing that's missing, or you'd have to be an excellent implementer, because none of the consumption of these short snippets of generic ideas are going to make a difference unless you're really good at implementing, which is also in general true, right? We can consume all day long, we can learn about the best ideas ever. It only makes a difference if we actually implement. And that's often where the difficulties occur, right? Because it's one thing to just say, hey, plan your day, do this, do that, and the others. Another thing to actually put that into practice and stay consistent with it. So, and this is why we've been talking about that specifically, how to become an implementer. And I guess I do feel a bit vindicated in a way for being on YouTube, where I can make longer videos and really go into more depth on these things. So yeah, if you really want to learn this stuff in more than 30-second snippets and you want to make a real difference, then make sure you subscribe and check out our videos on how to become an implementer. And like I said, if anyone has, found the productivity TikTok that will blow my mind, or has actually experienced a real difference in their life from this, I would love to know about it. So leave a comment and let me know.